This is the diagram of the hideaway grinder table, so that when you're not using the grinder, it'll disappear. It was made from the computer desk, an old computer desk. I just cut it down to use the particle board, and then routed around the edges and built a frame for it. And most of this is built from scrap parts. There it is, partly assembled, and that's where it's going to go. That bolts to the wall, and this part bolts to that part, and this is the shelf that hitches to the hinges, and there is the tabletop in position, and the grinder that will eventually go there, that will fold up and out of the way.
Okay, and when you're using the grinder, you can use it. This cord will be put in underneath, but for right now, if you're using the grinder, it's here. But it might be in the way of the vice grip, the vice over here. But when you're finished using the grinder, simply lift it up and it'll fold up out of the way. Gives you room, access to the door, etc. More room just to get out of the way, and also the parts cleaner bin will go in here, so that'll be a nice convenient way. And then when you want the grinder, simply bring it back down, the legs fall, support it, and voila. And of course the cord will go through and be attached under here, so the power will be under here, and then voila, there we go.
This is, again, the diagram with the dimensions that are needed for the table. This is the hidden hinge. I like the hinges not to be visible from the outside, so there's a little slot cut into the side of the board where this custom hinge, which was a flat hinge but has been bent to fit. And here is the operation of the hinge. You can see that it is concealed for the most part. I haven't figured out how to conceal the actual screws that hold it in or the bolts, but it hinges up, down, etc. And then as we look across at it, we can see the end, all three pieces that are bolted together there. And underneath, this is where the outlet will go that will power the grinder that is going to be mounted on the surface. That's the black part there. And then over here we have the other side hinge, again, is bolted to the 2x8, and screws are missing, but they will be put in. It actually is pretty solid even without the screws in it, so it'll be even more solid when I put the screws in it. And that's the hole that I had to remove to access the electrical, which is the part of the show that I'm going to go into now. This is some of the electrical wiring that has to be rerouted and cut and reassigned to different circuits. And this is the extension cord that exists now. That's the electrical diagram of the entire garage. Red and green are the circuits A and B, and that's a physical layout of the diagram of the problem that I'm having.
Is the circuit breaker in the garage, and this is the wire up here that I've cut loose that I'm going to be rerouting. This was on circuit A, now I'm going to move it to circuit B, or the other way around, because these two wires up here, one of them went all the way across the garage to the other side and simply feeds the light over the door, which is over there. So I wanted to reroute that. I'm going to come back across here. Okay, back where we started. And this wire went parallel to it, but I'm rerouting it to feed the light over the garage door, which currently is just dead-ended in an outlet as opposed to a junction. That's going to go over here, going to mount right across this beam across the top of the garage door, and it's going to meet up with this puppy that is currently also dead-ended. And there's the outdoor light light sensitive light, motion sensor light rather. And there is, I just have it stuck up there so it doesn't get stuck in the door. And it's just hanging there. These circuit breakers are all off. This circuit is anyway. And that goes, it did go across here, and the other light then gets ganged over across the garage here in parallel to the other one and goes across this beam and then down here to a gaggle of snakes at the junction box over here, which is where all my problems are. You can see right now that's all taken apart, and I'm rewiring that. Again, the circuit's off. Then one wire goes up over here to an outlet, which is the only outlet on that box, on that circuit rather. And then if we come over here and try not to get hung up on something over here, now this gaggle of snakes comes over here, and again from across the garage back at the circuit breaker. Now we're back down over there to the circuit breaker, which is down, oh, you can't see it because there's something in the way. There it is there. And so coming back across, and this is the tensor beam and a cross brace. One of the wires goes down here to the light over the door, and there's the door, and there's the outdoor light. Then this comes down here, and this is where it gets into a gaggle of snakes. I had to rip this wall out to see what went where, because I've got 2 wires there and 2 wires there. Some of them are in, some of them are coming out. And then I've got 4 wires coming down here into the box, which I've numbered them all to figure out where they went. And there's all your hots, all your whites are all ganged together. And then this was just a gang of 3 toggle switches, so it's only black wires coming down into this junction box. The other wire simply goes up over here to that one. And then of course we have a beautiful sunset happening out there. And my wheel cover collection. But here is the wire up over the garage, and I still don't know how this one gets down here. Got all my tools and all this crap on the counter right now. But there is the outlet right over there by the for sale sign. This outlet here, for some reason, it works now, but I haven't figured out where it fits into the scheme of things. It must be coming here, but I don't see any wire going down there. At any rate, I had to rip out this sheetrock here to physically trace these wires, because even with the tracer, I couldn't tell what went where. And that's your toggle switch. There were 2 other toggle switches there. So, and then of course I'm going to add, here is the grinder, and I'm going to move the boxes up so that this, which is the sprinkler mechanism, that's going to be added here, but it's going to have to go. Let's see if we can do this with one-handed paper hanger here. So as I put the grinder up against the wall, here's the grinder. So all the junction boxes will go above that level so that you can still access them, with another outlet down below, which is going to be the untouchable feeds that go to electrical things, primarily to the grinder. And let's see if I can do this with one hand. There we go, with one hand. Maybe I can make this spring-loaded or something like that. I don't know. But at any rate, there you go. There is the Grand Tour.